Most people don't realize they're wasting $7,400 a year until they see it in black and white. You go about your day, swiping your card here and there, and sign up for just one more subscription, and before you know it, thousands of dollars have vanished on stuff you don't even remember buying. The worst part? That money could have been used to build your future, create security, or to fund your goals, but instead it's disappearing into what researchers call financial blind spots. That's why today we're exposing the 6 tiny habits that separate people who build wealth from those who wonder where their wealth went. Mastering just one of these ideas could save you money in the long run. Habit 1, the 2-minute Friday review. Let's start with a mind-blowing fact, okay? Only 64% of Americans could handle a $1,000 emergency expense. But here's the thing, for most people, it's not because they don't make enough money, it's because they're operating on financial autopilot. Think about it, the average American spends about 5.5 hours a day on their phone, but do they even spend 2 minutes thinking about their finances? Like, people will check Instagram and TikTok countless times a day, but do they check their bank account? Maybe once a week, if we're being honest here, and that's just to see if they have enough money to buy their next fast food order. So this habit is about taking every Friday or whatever day of the week you choose and to spend exactly 2 minutes scanning your bank app or primary credit card. That's it, just 2 minutes for a quick scroll to see where you're at. Personally, I was not perfect at checking my online banking app, but once I started doing this habit again, I found out that I was paying $30 a month on a subscription that I didn't even use. So that 2-minute check is literally the cause of me saving $360 for the next year. And if you are someone that does have a financial goal, but you don't currently check your bank accounts, well, you don't know if you're making any progress. That's like trying to hit a goal of losing weight without ever stepping on a scale. You never measure where you're at, so you never know if you're making any progress. Habit 2, the coffee test. Here's what's wild. People who don't track their spending waste over $5,000 a year on things they don't even remember buying. That's literally months of car payments or money you could have been saving for your long-term financial goals. We call this type of spending your non-essential spending, but most people have no idea what their non-essentials even are. So for this tiny habit, you're gonna pick one regular purchase you make, like coffee or fast food, and you're gonna track that one type of expense for the entire month. Only that one, all right? Don't track everything, just focus on this one thing. So for example, coffee. The main reason why you're only gonna track one thing is to make this more doable. It's tough to go from 0 to tracking every single expense you ever make throughout the month compared to you just starting with one aspect of your life. I enjoy playing the game of tennis, but I won't tell a beginner to hop into a match with me. I would tell them, hey, focus on one thing. Just start learning a forehand from the baseline, and that's a great place to just begin. The same thing goes with money. There is no need to overwhelm yourself with all these spreadsheets trying to track everything. Just focus on this one purchase like coffee and see how much you end up spending on coffee throughout an entire month, and the results might surprise you. It might surprise you enough to the point where you're wondering, where's all of my other money going? Is there anything else similar to this? And that's why this tiny habit can start a ripple effect where you'll now be aware of most of your spending. Habit 3, the top 3 rule. Remember how I mentioned earlier that we spend over 5 hours on our phones, but some only spend minutes on our finances? Well, this tiny habit will fix that in less than 5 minutes a month. By following the top 3 rule, every month you're gonna look at your last 30 days and write down your 3 biggest expenses, aka your top 3 expenses. And once you have those picked out, you're gonna ask yourself, was it worth it? Would I spend that again? And could I reduce that expense for next month? This doesn't require you to track every single dollar, but those 3 expenses probably represent 50 to 70% of your spending anyways. So if you can move the needle just a little bit on one of these top 3 expenses, that could open up some more margin in your life. For my wife and I, insurance is one of those regular expenses that does take a portion of our paycheck every single month. So by shopping around with different providers, we've been able to find ways to move the needle on that regular large expense so that we were able to open up some more margin in our budget each and every month. So by calling out those top 3 expenses that you find yourself regularly paying for, you're finding the top 3 ways that you could possibly save the most money every month. Habit 4, the Sunday Money Minute. Here's something that might surprise you guys. 1 in 3 Americans have more credit card debt than emergency savings. And a lot of times people end up in this position not because of money and math, but their emotions that lead them to make certain financial decisions. So this habit is all about the emotions and behaviors around your money. So if you want to try out this habit, you're going to set a phone reminder for Sunday at 7 o'clock p.m. Of course, you can choose any day and time for you, but you're going to use this moment to contemplate the question, not how much did I spend, but how did it feel? Because money is emotional, and if you're not addressing the feelings behind your money, you're missing half the equation. If in this moment of contemplation you feel this overwhelming sense of anxiety or like you're always behind, then that's a clear sign that there's something that you can change in the next week. Or if you're feeling confident and feeling secure, then give yourself a pat on the back because you did something right, and you should continue to follow those behaviors in the following weeks to come. Habit number 5, the one-touch rule. Okay, I just mentioned the feeling of being behind, and this habit is gonna help with that. And especially as you get older and life becomes more complex with children, houses, cars, and bills, there are definitely times where you're gonna run into the 2 words, payment due. And it's easy to think in those moments, I'll just handle it later, but that is the moment where financial clutter starts. One ignored email or one ignored bill can turn into 5 tabs open on your laptop or letters and letters stacking up in your office desk. Here's a fun fact for you. A study by the American Psychological Association found that 72% of adults report feeling stressed about money, and much of that stress comes from uncertainty and avoidance, not just lack of income. So in reality, it's not the bill that is stressing you out. It's the invisible weight of carrying that bill on your brain for days or weeks, pretending it doesn't exist. So that's where the one-touch rule comes in. If you want to try out this habit, then when your next bill comes in, whether it's digital or physical, the moment you touch it, open it, or read it, then you have to do these things. If it's due now, pay it. If it's due later, schedule it. If it's reoccurring, set up autopay. And if it's junk, delete it or shred it. Stop carrying all this weight of bills and financial responsibilities and just take care of them as they come along. Habit number 6, the future friend check. People who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve them. But having accountability, well, that could skyrocket your success rate. To try out this habit, here is one way you could do it. Before spending over $100 on a purchase, text a friend first. About to buy X, is this a good idea? Research shows that peer accountability could reduce impulse purchases significantly. If you have a spouse or partner, you already have that accountability partner built in, or if you just want to rely on a trusted friend or family member, make sure you define that boundary. The psychology behind this habit is pretty interesting. Neuroscientists found that thinking about money activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So no wonder why we avoid these things. But these tiny habits work because they make money management almost painless. You're training your brain to see finances as neutral, not threatening, and those small things you're doing, well, they're gonna compound faster than you'd expect. Every financially secure person started with tiny habits just like these. And yes, I totally get it, guys. These are pretty much common sense, and these are really tiny and simple things. You're probably gonna talk about it in the comments, how you do 1 or 2 of these. But if you've watched this video all the way through, then pick one of these habits and just try it for the next week. Personally, I would recommend starting with the 2-minute Friday review. It's the easiest and shows results fast. If you found this video about financial behavior pretty helpful, then subscribe to the channel for more practical tips every single week. And if you're thinking, okay, but I need more than just habits to figure out my financial goals, then watch this video right here if you want to define an actual plan. Give it a click and I'll see you guys over there.